All right, guys, we are back for week 17 of the gambling show. I'm here with Yanni. What's up, dude?
How you doing, man?
How was your Christmas? What'd you get?
My Christmas was good. My big thing, I got the Nintendo Switch 2, which is awesome. Um, Total throwback to like, dude, I remember in 1996 getting a Game Boy Color with Pokemon Red in it, you know? Maybe it's not a great thing that I haven't progressed, but maybe it is. I don't know. There's something really cool about it. To get like the same gift that I got 32 years ago, and it's just like the super premium version of it. Maybe it's not even 30, not 32 years ago, 20 years ago or whatever. So yeah, that's what I got. That was my big gift. And then my brother ripped a bunch of cards too. How about you? How'd you do?
I asked for cards for Christmas from I'm in the two Christmas club. Got the divorced parents two Christmas club. I asked for cards from both of them. Only my dad understood the assignment though. And I pulled the hyper rare Charizard in 9 packs, which is a 1 in 1500 to pull.
Yeah.
So I got the god luck. I was kissed by the hand of God in terms of my card ripping. I was not kissed by the hand of God though in my gambling picks last week, and it's a perfect segue into the week 16 recap. Obviously, at this point in the season, I am chasing my tail, desperately trying to get some form of a win out of this season. So I had to do a 5 leg parlay. I actually thought I had a pretty good read on the board. I thought a lot of the games went pretty well, but when you're parlaying 5 things, right? You miss one and you get nothing. So here's the game breakdowns. First one was Eagles -7 against the Redskins on, I believe it was Thursday night. No, no, maybe it was Saturday. I forgot. I was in the movie theater. I did not watch this game. I saw what was that movie? The Housemaid with Sydney Sweeney. If you guys have seen that terrible movie, don't go see it. But yeah, Eagles win pretty easily. It seems like I didn't watch the game, so I have no real commentary there. But that one covered. Did get home for the Packers game though against the Bears. This one again, I don't love to right side you guys very much, but I'm right siding you on this. The Packers have Jordan Love exit the game early in the second quarter with a concussion. The Packers still control the game with Malik Willis in there, so the Bears were losing to the Packers' second string quarterback with a banged up Christian Watson. Basically, what happens here is Packers are up by, I believe, like 10 in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
The Bears drive down the field, get a touchdown. Um, and there's under 2 minutes left, and the Bears have one timeout left. So all the Packers have to do is get the ball back on the onside kick, kneel it down, and the game is over. Romeo Dobbs has the worst onside kick coverage I've ever seen. The Bears recover the onside kick, drive down the field, kick the game tying field goal, and then Caleb Williams hits a like 50-yard bomb to DJ Moore in overtime for the touchdown. It's an all-time melt by the Green Bay Packers. I feel like they were the better team. I feel like the Bears are still a fake good team, but I didn't account for Jordan Love leaving the game with a concussion. And even though he did, right, like the Packers, I think still outplayed them the majority of the night. It is what it is, though. That one pick just completely tanked the rest of the five, so now we're just playing for record. Next one was the Bucks -3. I'll save that one for Yanni because that was a consensus of ours. Bengals -4.5. This was one that was my favorite pick of the week. I even said very specifically, I think the Bengals hang 40 here on the Dolphins. They hang 42 on the Dolphins. I will say, I think the Dolphins scored 20 points. Quinn Ewers looked better than I thought he would, for sure. I thought this thing would completely just fall off the rails. We did get a long H-hand run, and Quinn Ewers, I think he threw for like 240 yards. There was obviously the two picks, so it's not good enough from the quarterback position, but I thought that thing was going to zero. It was not that bad. The Niners -5.5, I will also save for Yanni because he was on that too. But yeah, you lose your parlay, so it's just -$100 for me. I went 3-2 on the week, so my season record, I guess, climbs, if you want to call it that, to 35-45. We got 2 weeks left, and we are officially at the number of losses where I need to go 10-0 to go 500. So we're gonna try and do that. I got another 5 legger for you guys this week. Profit and loss. We are slowly just climbing closer to the center of the earth. If I miss another one this week, will be -$1,500. But I'm going down swinging. I'm not gonna not throw out a 5 legger and see if I can hit it, I guess.
It's absolutely wild that if you throw in a five legger, you'll be up 15 units on the year. Like that's still in your range of outcomes, which I'm rooting for, man. And I need something like that too at this point. I took the Bills minus 10.5 on the road against the Browns. I thought the Browns were kind of ready to mail it in for the year. Quinshon Judkins suffers a nasty ankle dislocation, similar to like the Dak Prescott injury. It actually was not a knee injury, so he got a little bit lucky in that sense. But really a bummer because I love Quinshon Judkins. But I thought the Browns were drawing dead. I was actually pretty surprised. I thought Shador at least made some plays. I won't say played a great game or anything, but he made enough plays to keep him in the game. Harold Fannin Jr. had a really nice showing, a rushing touchdown, a receiving touchdown. Um, I kind of flagged it when I took the bet. Like, I think the market and myself continues to overvalue Josh Allen and the Bills. I may be going back to the well one more time this week because the number's a lot more manageable. Maybe I make the mistake again. We will find out. The Bucks minus 3 against the Panthers, and then I took the over here as well. The total ended up being 43 points, so we were 3 points shy of the over. The over I don't really regret because I think if Baker Mayfield even played competent football, like it would have been fine. I was checking the box scores before this, right, to make sure I was on point here. He threw for 141 yards, one touchdown, one pick, something like that, 145 yards. Um, I don't know what's going on with Baker. I don't know if it's the change in offensive coordinators over 2 or 3 years. Like he went from two of the better young offensive minds in the sport to just a guy, and maybe that's really what's showing up. His offense, his guys are on paper healthy, but they don't seem like they're playing like it. The Bucks are just missing right now, and me and Ted fell victim to that, and I fell victim in the over too. Because if he could have just put together a competent drive and put away the game, the over would have hit. Maybe they go to overtime and they get the win there. So bummer. But I was wrong about the game. The Panthers put up a much better fight than I foresaw them putting up. I was thinking the over because the Panthers would be chasing points late, down by a bunch. Their defense actually played pretty well. The 49ers and Colts. So on my 49ers hub picks, which went 5 for 5 this week, by the way, we're up to 65% on my 49ers props or in-game bets that I've given out this year. Like 65%, second 5-0 week that I've been doing them this year. Don't know why I have a read on that game, but I cannot get a read on the NFL. It's really frustrating because I take this stuff very seriously and I'm floundering here. But this was given out. I gave this out to like the 49ers hub readers. Because I was so confident in the 5.5 that the market was continuously overvaluing Philip Rivers as opposed to other backups, which maybe it should be a little bit. He played really, really good football. But I don't know, man. I just don't think I don't when it was less than a touchdown with the way the 49ers offense was playing, this was a really easy smash for me. It was for Ted too. We hit the consensus. What I was wrong about was the under 46.5. I believe the total was like 72 on the game. I want to say it was 45-27 was the point total for the game. And yeah, I did not expect it to become a full-blown shootout, like a full-blown Rams Chiefs style shootout where these guys were going back and forth. I was shocked the way Philip Rivers was able to carve up the 49ers defense, and he left some meat on the bone in that game too. So that one I was just outright wrong about. Outright wrong. The 49ers passing game is really firing on all cylinders right now in like a way that maybe it has not been in the Brock Purdy, Kyle Shanahan era, probably fueled in part by the defense being so bad that they have to. But I also think we're seeing real growth in the Shanahan scheme and the Brock Purdy scheme, and that sort of pushed the game to the over. So that was just wrong. No right setting on that one. That was just plain wrong. I'm sitting around $1,000 down, about 10 units in the hole this year. I have a worse record than our very own Theodore at 34, 44, and 1. We'll see how it goes this week.
I mean, technically, I have a half a game on you, but we are just varying shades of loser this year. I'm hoping
Yeah.
one of us
Yeah.
can do something here. And we're
Yeah.
going to take a big hack. So here are the week 17 picks. I am once again rolling out a 5-leg parlay. It is desperation time. I am taking big old haymakers at the end of the year, but that's what we got to do. So here's the 5-legger that's surely going to come home this week. First one, Texans money line against the Chargers. I am selling my stock in the current iteration of the Chargers offense. Even though they've put together a couple wins, it still doesn't look right to me. Texans money line. Next one, Cardinals Bengals over 53.5. I think that there is no number you could have shown me that exists in the world that I would be comfortable betting either of those teams, like against the spread. But the over here, I'm betting on two okay offenses and trash defenses. I feel like that's a good value. Next one, Jaguars minus 5.5. I'm jagging off. They are playing the Colts this week. This is going to be their rematch. The last time the Jaguars won by like 20, I want to say, or maybe more than that. I'm riding with Trevor. One of my most shit talked players is I think shown something over the last month. Got me excited to bet on the Jaguars as a pretty hefty favorite here. Next one, I'm going to be at this game. I wanted some action. I didn't want to jinx my 49ers, but after seeing 70 total points against the Colts, I figured 52.5 against the Bears in prime time might be a little low. I think there's going to be an exciting game, a real back and forth game. But yeah, I'm playing the over there. Then the last one, Monday night, Rams minus 8.5. It's a massive number to be laying, but they are playing the Atlanta Falcons with Kirk Cousins. I feel like that I don't think it's going to be competitive. I feel like the Rams blow them out, but that's the fifth leg that hopefully is going to bring me home to a 5-0 week. So here's how the dollars and cents work out. If all these hit, I get $2,747.18. No single games. Total cost of the ticket is $100 because just the one big fat parlay. And yeah, I need a 5-0 week here to get over into the green. I'd be like comfortably in the green if this hits. 5-0 week brings me to 40-45 and would give me an opportunity next week to go have another 5-0 week and finish the year at 500. So hoping that happens.
Yeah, so I'm rolling a $200 ticket this week. My only standalone game is going to be the consensus between me and Ted, the 49ers Bears over 52.5. I just figure there's a lot of things that have to go into hitting an over, so I want to leave that as a standalone, but I do feel very good about it. We're consensus on the Jaguars minus 5.5 against the Colts, taking the Patriots minus 13.5 against the Jets, which is just comical. I continue to take comically large Patriots betting lines this year. I don't think I've lost a Patriots bet this season, so I've had a pretty good vibe on them. I may have. I'll have to go back and check that, but I don't believe so. I'm taking the Saints minus 2.5 on the road at the Titans, taking the Saints as a favorite, and Mr. Tyler Shuck, looking forward to it. And then I'm going to take the Bills money line at home against the Eagles. The line was 1.5, but I actually do want the money line just because of the odds of like a failed tush push or Sirianni getting aggressive. I feel like there's enough weirdness there with the aggressive play calling and the short yardage plays by the Eagles that I actually would just rather go ahead and take the money line on the off chance of a 1 point win. So that's what I'm doing. And those four are all going to be parlayed. My parlay would pay me out 12, 23, 16, and my other return is 190, almost 2 units back on the single bet with the 49ers. So total amount chased this week is 1,400 for a $200 ticket. I am $1,000 in the hole.
Good for you for reading over my blanks and my poor calculations on the slide. Very good, Yanni. But yeah, let's get into the game breakdowns here, and I will start first. We're leading off with the Texans going to SoFi to play the, I believe, 11-4 Chargers. Right now, the Chargers control their destiny in the AFC West. If they win out, they win the AFC West, which would be pretty insane given their injury. But this is going to be a tough test for him. Here's the betting breakdown: 64% of bets on the money line are on the Texans here, and 75% of the total dollars on the money line are on the Texans here. Again, the Texans are either 1.5 or 2.5 point dogs, depending on what book you're shopping at, right?
It's gone up to 2.5 point favorites. They were minus 2.5 as of 2 hours ago.
Wow. Okay, so
So
I
money's
snuck in
coming
it.
in.
Yeah, I snuck in at the exact right time then. Yeah. So I can save the speech about betting money line on like a short underdog. Season record money line. The Texans are just a 10-5 football team. The Chargers are an 11-4 football team. Offensive and defensive ranks, the Texans are 19th in offensive yards gained, which honestly I thought they'd be worse than that. So it's kind of a surprise to me, and they are first in defensive yards allowed. We know about the Texas defense. That's very representative of what this unit has done. And the Chargers are 11th in offensive yards gained and 4th in defensive yards allowed. So this is a kind of uncomfortable bet for me to make. I would call myself a Justin Herbert truther, right? I feel like Justin Herbert is one of the quarterbacks that I would consider the class of the NFL. I feel like that a lot of the issues that we've been seeing over the past, I guess, month and a half haven't really been his fault ever since Joe Alt went out, really. And we've seen like very stark splits between the Chargers offense with and without Joe Alt, right? So it feels bad for me betting against Justin Herbert, but I feel like I have to, given the state of the Chargers offensive line and the defense they're going up against in Houston. You know, last week Houston they barely squeaked by the Raiders, which was I think shocking for a lot of people. I think it probably influenced the line here at least early when I got in on the Texans as an underdog. Right, you know, you see a team that beats one of the lowliest teams in the NFL and the Raiders by like 3 points, right? I don't think that instills a lot of confidence in betters, but this is a bet on the defense, boys. I haven't liked the Texans offense all year. I still don't really like it, but I think CJ Stroud should be able to do enough in this game. It sounds like Woody Marks is going to be back. What's that guy's name? Like Jawar Jordan or whatever. Like he filled in admirably for Woody Marks. Nick Chubb got a couple runs in there, but I feel like in terms of quality of running back, they're not to Woody Marks' level, right? And these are two good defenses, so like I feel like it's going to be a tight game. I feel like it's going to be a sweat for sure for me. But man, you got like Will Anderson going up against like guys you picked up at the truck stop that are supposed to be protecting Justin Herbert. When the Chargers played the Eagles, they allowed 7 sacks to that defensive line, right? Like I don't know what's going to happen here. I have no idea how the Chargers are planning on stopping the Texans defensively. Like I think that I'm not exaggerating. I think that 10 plus sacks are on the board here. I think this looks a lot like when the Texans played the Bills and they just kept getting after Josh Allen and they neutralized him, right? Like when you have an elite quarterback like Justin Herbert, one of the only ways you can stop them is to get in the backfield quickly and like interrupt their reads and progressions and throws, because if you give them time, they're going to beat you, right? But this is a D'Amico Ryan's defense. They know what they're doing. I believe the Texans, ever since starting 0-3, are now they've been 10-2 in the last 12 weeks, right? So they're really firing on all cylinders. I understand the Chargers are on a little winning streak here, but it's been sketchy, I think, to say the least. I think the buck stops here for LA. Texans money line is the pick. What do you think, Yoni?
Very good one. I like it. I thought long and hard about it. I actually would have parlayed it with the under. I think if you're betting the Texans, you should have just parlayed it with the under because like to me, the very clear path to it. If this thing goes like over 45 points or 42 points, I know the over under was 39 and a half, but if it goes into like the 40s in point total, then at that point, Justin Jefferson's firing and moving the ball on the Texans. And I think they probably win the game. But either way, I think the Texans win. Their offense is just way healthier right now. They made some replacements on the offensive line that seem to have been doing better over the second half of the season. Their running game's been a little bit more healthy. Nico Collins has been going a little bit, although I don't think he has a great week here this week. I think it's a tall task with that Chargers secondary. They're really good against receiver. So yeah, for all those reasons, I do like the Texans. I do think they win. I think you have the right side of the bet. I liked it enough to really think about putting it in there. I just also, dude, the unpredictability of how this game could go weighs heavy on my mind, just in terms of like, I don't know. These are two teams that are very much like defense first teams. And I just feel like there's a very wide range of outcomes, and CJ Stroud will turn the ball over sometimes, but I was so close to betting this. I was so close to betting it with the Texans. And obviously the big money agrees with you because it's pushed the line quite a bit. I think like 3.5 points or 4 points almost. Because I think they were plus 1.5 to minus 2.5.
So I'm
So
checking on FanDuel right now. They're still showing a Texans plus 1.5 number.
on sports betting dime, I believe they were minus 2.5 when I checked.
So sports betting dime is like a conglomeration of all of the different books. So
Yeah.
if people who are watching the show, if you like this Texan side, find a book that has them listed as underdogs, please. That means some books, like maybe Caesars is like laying a -2.5 Texans right now, but depending on which side you like, even if you like the Chargers, right, go shop at the book that has them as the underdogs in this game. If you like the Texans, go shop for a book that has them as the underdogs in this game, right? Like it is definitely a sweaty bet. I'm not like supremely confident in it like I was last week on my Bengals pick, but part of the reason I picked this too is I'm getting over 2-1 back, and when you throw that in a parlay, like the
Yeah.
magnitudes of money you get back are great, right? So we're chasing that giant negative number. That's like, I guess, the consequence of having bad picks all year and putting myself in this situation, but I still like the pick. Supreme confidence in that Texans defense for sure. Next one, we got the Cardinals going to Cincinnati to play the Bengals. The over on this game is 53.5 points. So need 54 total points for this one to hit. Here's the betting breakdown. Kind of surprising to me. 32% of total bets are on the over here, and only 40% of the total dollars are on the over here. So we have an 8% whale lean on the over pick, but it's not a public pick, which is kind of surprising to me, given like how these teams have played over the past like The Cardinals, since Jacoby Brissett became their quarterback, and the Bengals since Joe Burrow has been back. I believe the Bengals are averaging like 30 points a game with Joe Burrow. So I don't know. Maybe there's some sharps that are coming in on the under for some reason, or there's something I'm missing. But this felt pretty easy to me. Season record on the over under. Both of these teams have gone over 9 times and under 6 times. Offensive and defensive rankings. The Cardinals are 15th in offensive yards gained and 26th in defensive yards allowed. I feel like that kind of tells the story for the Arizona Cardinals here with the injury they've sustained on defense and Jacoby Brissett really adding a new dimension to the offense that Kyler Murray could not. And the Bengals are 21st in offensive yards gained and dead last in defensive yards allowed. The defensive rank that has been consistent for the Bengals all year. The offensive rank, I feel like it's a little low because of the Joe Flacco and Jake Browning periods, but with Joe Burrow here, I feel like this offense is certainly better than the 21st one in the league. And really, that's all this pick is to me, right? I see two defenses that are incredibly banged up. The Cardinals, I believe they're missing like 5 or 6 starters from their starting lineup. They're almost as banged up as the Niners defensively. I believe they've been allowing 30 plus points in almost every game over the past month. A lot of which the Cardinals are getting blown out in games, and they're getting some delicious garbage time yards with Jacoby Brissett. If you're a Trey McBride manager, if you're a Michael Wilson manager, you've been paying close attention to the Cardinals. They've been an offensive and fantasy wagon in garbage time, and they're playing another team in the Bengals that just cannot stop anyone, but scores a lot of points. Bengals went over 40 last week, so to me, like I look at this game, I felt like the Bengals win, but they're laying 7 points, and I could not do that. Right? I'm not laying 7 points on the last defensive, the team that's ranked last in defensive yards allowed. Like there's too much variance there, right? To me, the Cardinals' back door is wide open at a +7, right? Like I could totally see the Bengals being up 10 points. The Cardinals drive down with 2 minutes left in garbage time, like they have pretty much the last 6 weeks or whatever. And I lose the bet that way, right? So I was like, okay, do I want to bet the Cardinals and underdogs? No, I absolutely don't because I feel like the wheels are liable to fall off at any time for the Cardinals and they could be down 21-0 in the first quarter. Like I feel like both of those things are live. So to me, I looked at both of these teams, pretty competent offenses, horrendous defenses, and I said, okay, do I think both of these teams get to 20? Yes, probably. And I think the Bengals go like in the 30s would be my guess. So the math added up to me. Again, like when you bet totals, you bring a lot of variance into the equation. But with the way this week was, right, we had 3 games on Christmas, so we had less to pick from. And I got to hit a 5 leg parlay. There was a lot of numbers up hanging on the board I wasn't super comfortable with. So this over 53.5 made it in my parlay. I feel like I have the right side of it. I'm not sure why so many people are on the under. I would assume it's because it's two teams people view as bad, right? And that's like a kind of like a banger game type of number, 53.5. That's a lot of points, but I really do see this kind of being a shootout. It might not be competitive, but I think there's going to be a lot of touchdowns in this one. What do you think, Yanni? Did I walk into a trap here?
No, this was my sixth favorite pick of the week. So it was my sixth one. It didn't quite make the cut. Probably my tiebreaker was you roasting me for trailing your picks if I had taken it. But yeah. No, man, I think it's a great pick. I really do. I think it's gonna come home. I don't care about the 53.5 because to me, when we've seen that number this year, it's been like for matches that went into the 70s. I don't know what it is about this season, but it feels like we've gotten a lot of these games where both teams just start hucking it like it's Madden. And we see like a point total that's 58 to 75. And like I feel like we've seen a lot of those this year. So I certainly think this one profiles Trey McBride. I want to say Vegas has his over under on yards at 76.5. I think he's going to absolutely smash that over. Jamar Chase is a really easy matchup for wide receivers. I think Jamar Chase goes nuts. It's just a very healthy offensive environment. I think fantasy owners should really be looking forward to it if you have pieces on whatever side of this equation you're on. I am going against Trey McBride in a couple championships, probably going to lose on that alone. But it should be awesome. It should be really fun. Trey McBride was out there saying he took his performance last week personally, wants to put on the performance of his career this week. So, yeah, Yeah, really healthy offensive environment. I'm expecting a banger. Okay, we're consensus on this one. The Jags -5.5 at the Colts. They won by, I believe it was by 20 the last time they played. Pretty handily, pretty easy game. Me and Ted are both on it, right? So 78% of total bets against the spread have gone on the Jaguars. 86% of total dollars bet against the spread have gone on the Jaguars. That's a pretty massive split. Only 22% and 14% respectively for the Colts. Season record against the spread for the Jags. They are a wagon, 10-5. Season record against the spread for the Colts, maybe a little bit overvalued in the betting markets. They are 8-6-1. Offensive rank for the Jaguars, 14. Defensive rank, 13. The defensive ranks actually slid a little bit over the course of the year, but their offense has been so good it hasn't mattered. Offensive rank for the Colts, 8th. Defensive rank for the Colts, 25th. Both of those numbers are sliding precipitously since the Daniel Jones injury, since the Charvarius Ward and Sauce Gardner injuries. I have not seen updates. I think Charvarius is not going. Sauce Gardner, I have not seen that he's back at practice yet this week. So at least for now, for all intents and purposes, I would assume they are both out. So why was this a really easy bet for me? It is because of the way the Jags offense is playing. To me, we were maybe a little hesitant to anoint them. There were even talks about should the Jaguars trade Trevor Lawrence after the first 4 to 6 weeks, because things were really rough. The transition into the Liam Cohen era offensively for this Jaguars unit was rough for the first maybe third of the season, half the season almost. Trevor looked kind of like a fish out of water. He was not making his reads properly. He was not making the decisions he needed to make properly, and it looked kind of funky on the field. Like the product looked broken. Brian Thomas Jr. looked broken. Travis Hunter did not, acclimate to NFL offensive environments the way some of us had hoped for, especially fantasy managers. But the one thing that was really consistent was their running game. Their running game in terms of yards before contact per rush has been like number 1 or 2 for most of the season in the NFL. It's been one of the most efficient rushing attacks and one of the highest scoring rushing attacks in the league. That thing has been firing all year. It is going in overdrive now. Travis Etienne just set his career high in touchdowns this year. And then all of a sudden, Trevor Lawrence caught up. And Trevor Lawrence started using his legs a lot more. And then the passing game got going. And then Brian Thomas Jr. got to slot out to his true X role with Jacoby Myers traded for and Travis Hunter on IR, who maybe would have been playing the Myers role if he was in. But Myers and Brian Thomas Jr. play really well together. Brenton Strange has taken a second-year leap and is playing really good football. Like, to me, dude, the Jaguars are such a healthy offensive environment and offense right now, and Liam Cohen knows what he's doing. That guy is a really, really good offensive mind. He had Baker Mayfield playing MVP caliber football, and as much as we love Baker, in terms of physical talent, size, speed, arm strength, Trevor Lawrence and Baker Mayfield are not comparable. They're not the same level of prospect physically. Now, mentally, I think it's not close the other way. I think Baker Mayfield's a much better player. But physically, if Trevor Lawrence's mentality, if his mental comprehension of the game were to get up to where like a Brock Purdy is, right? Where Brock Purdy is with Kyle Shanahan. If he improved on his I believe he's gone. It's been a few weeks without an interception. He was like averaging an interception a game for most of his career. Like if these things start to straighten out and all of a sudden we see the player that we thought he could be when he was called a mobile Peyton Manning coming out of college. That was what people thought he was, dude. People thought this was going to be, or like a more pocket oriented Cameron Newton. Like he didn't have the legs of Cam Newton, but he drew some pretty incredible comparisons to some of the great players the game's ever seen. And like I don't know if we're necessarily there. I don't think we've turned this full corner, but you're seeing glimpses of it. You're seeing glimpses of Liam Cohen with that caliber of player, and they're starting to beat the shit out of teams. Like they're not going in there and winning game. They're starting to kick the living shit out of teams. Brock Purdy just went in and dropped 45 points, had one of the highest rated games in PFF's history. With Demarcus Robinson, with Kendrick Bourne, with Juwan Jennings as his wide receiver one, if he's laying waste, absolutely decimating the Colts to that degree with that receiver core, I think Trevor Lawrence is live to go for 40 here. And I love Phillip Rivers, man. I love the story. He's been my favorite thing in the NFL this year, but like he had one of the better games of his recent career at 280 yards and 2 touchdowns. And it wasn't even close. They wasn't even able to keep it within 18 points against San Francisco, missing multiple receivers and most of their defense. So, I don't think this should have been 5.5. I think this should have been a 2-score spread. I think this should be 7.5 or 8.5. I think it's like some price memory from the market on what the Colts were, but no longer are. So very easy bet for me. Jags -5.5, taking a divisional road favorite that is a huge public favorite and a big money favorite. What could go wrong?
Yeah, I feel like probably there's a lot of sharps, quote unquote, out there that are picking the Colts on this home divisional dog hype. But fact of the matter is, Trevor Lawrence has really shown me something in the past 5 weeks. I actually ran the numbers while you were talking. Trevor has 1,338 passing yards, 15 passing touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns, and is averaging 267 yards a game um,
Yeah.
for the
Is that
last
just
five
passing, or is
weeks.
that
That
is
that
that including rushing yards?
that's just passing. He's almost
Yeah.
passing for 270 a game.
Yeah.
He's responsible for over 3 touchdowns a game for this offense. And he only has 3 picks over that time period, all of which came in the same game against Arizona where they were chasing a lead, right? So to me, I feel like something's clicking here with Trevor and Liam Cohen. I still do not trust Trevor Lawrence fully. I don't believe that he is of the level of Brock Purdy even. I think Brock Purdy is a better quarterback than Trevor. But fact of the matter is, when you get a good offensive mind, right? Like we've seen what Kyle Shanahan has done for his quarterbacks. I feel like Liam Cohen like should be in the conversation for Coach of the Year, having this roster at I believe 11-4 or something crazy. They're way outperforming, out kicking their coverage here. And the other part of this game that I really liked that kind of led me to laying the Jaguars anything under a touchdown here was what the Jaguars really are a pass funnel, right? They right now lead the league in yards allowed rushing, so they really want you to pass on them, and they're really good at stopping the run, right? And it feels like with 44-year-old grandfather Philip Rivers out there, right? Like he looked good against the Niners. I feel like Phil could probably pass for over 200 yards in this game, but what the Colts need to do without Danny Dimes in there is lean on Jonathan Taylor, right? Like that's their path to victory. And I feel like the way this Jaguars team is firing, right? Like I think they'll just put a bunch of guys in the box, not allow Jonathan Taylor to get his yards and force the game in Philip Rivers' hands, right? So I think defensively they'll get enough stops on the Colts here. I think offensively, assuming Trevor kind of keeps up this run, I think the Jaguars against this banged up Colts secondary, I think 30 plus is on the board here. It just feels like an easy one to me. I'm sure that like the gambling shows that I certainly watch, and other people may watch, may say, "Oh, well, the Colts are a sneaky one here." No. The Colts, I feel like, are being overvalued in the market right now because of their great start to the year with Danny Dimes. Like, if Dimes is playing in this game, I think the Colts are at least 3 point favorites here, but it's just a massive drop off. It's a bummer, but I finally come to terms. I am accepting this Jaguars team as a legitimate contender in the AFC. I don't think that they could beat a team like the Rams, right, or a really good team, but all the really good teams in the AFC are either floundering or didn't make it this year. So I think the Jaguars are live to do something, man. I
Oh,
felt like that was a
absolutely.
pretty easy pick. Yep.
Absolutely. Okay, so I have like a run of 4 games here, so I'll be a little more interactive. I'm going to invite Ted to share his opinions in the middle of some of these rather than just at the end. And I'm actually curious off the rip. Ted, do you think the Patriots are a legitimate Super Bowl contender this year, or are they a feel-good story that they're playing way above their weight class? They're probably below average talent rosters, winning games against bad teams, but that's what they are this year. They turned the corner to set the stage to be a contender next year, or do you think that they could actually make a run this year with Drake May throwing to the guys he's throwing to and with the kind of no name defense they have?
Well, so the Patriots this year, even though they are an impressive, I believe 11-3 or 12-3, right? Their strength of schedule against opponents this year is sub 400. I believe they have like their
Yeah.
opponents combined have like a combined winning percentage of like 38.7%, I want to say, which is like the easiest schedule in NFL history. So you can only beat the teams that are in front of you, right? So they're taking care of business. I do trust them to like a certain degree with Mike Vrabel. I trust Drake May. It feels like this step that he has taken is legitimate. I don't think that's fake. I think that he's like really arrived as like a upper tier quarterback, right? So I think the Patriots are live to make a run in the AFC. I just don't. If it's the Rams that come out of the NFC, I don't think they're beating them, right? I just
Yeah.
think the best way to characterize the Patriots, I put them in the same like Seahawks tier all year, and I know
Okay.
people like think the Seahawks are like a legitimate Super Bowl contender, right? I'm not there with that team yet, but I think the Patriots are right there with the Seahawks in terms of like quality of team. I think they're well coached, so I think
Yeah.
if they made it to a Super Bowl, they'd have a puncher's chance, and I think they got to be one of the favorites in the AFC. So I still think they're in the middle of their rebuild. I still think
Yeah.
that next year they'll be even better than this version of the Patriots. But I wouldn't call them a Super Bowl favorite, I guess.
Yeah, I'm actually just curious what the last. Yeah, so the Bills edged them out, obviously, in my last game by 4 points. Yeah, I don't know. It's just interesting to me, dude. Maybe it's just a Drake May thing. Like, I think Drake May is playing good enough ball that I wouldn't be surprised to see him make a run. And then the biggest thing for me, and the biggest thing in this bet, why I'm taking a minus 13.5 at the Jets, 78% of total dollars bet against the spread are on the Patriots. Excuse me, 76% of total dollars bet, 78% of the total bets. So maybe the big money disagrees with me ever so slightly. It's a big number. The Patriots are 10-5 against the spread this year. They are the fifth ranked offense and seventh ranked defense in the NFL. Like, to me, with the way that their roster is constructed, if you were putting up numbers like that, what you have is really competent coaching. And I know McDaniels is not a good head coach. No one's going to confuse him for a good head coach, but he is a like multiple Super Bowl winning offensive coordinator who it really like when he's dialed in terms of offensive play calling. We saw it with Brady. Like I think he's an extremely competent, an extraordinarily competent offensive mind, right? Vrabel with his defenses, dude. Mike Vrabel was making AFC championship runs with the Tennessee Titans and Ryan Tannehill as his quarterback, primarily because he got that defense playing at a certain level and a certain physicality, like that Titans brand football from that era. Um, I don't know. So to me, it's just a talent question, right? But against a team like the Jets, they need to keep winning because they could be in contention for the 1 seed. They could be in contention to at the minimum host a playoff game or two. Um, now, this is not a team to me that looks like they've coasted to wins. They've gotten in some close games this year. They lost to the Raiders, but like this is kind of a beat the shit out of the other team I think this year. And I've taken them as a few big favorites a few times, like against the Titans when they kept going, which I don't know if that game would actually be such a blowout now because the Titans are playing pretty good ball recently, or at least better ball recently. But yeah, that's really all it is for me, dude. The Jets are one of the worst teams I've ever seen, I've ever seen in my whatever 25 years of seriously watching the NFL. I've very rarely seen a team that bad. They just shut down Garrett Wilson for the year. That is waving the white flag. I believe they shut down Justin Fields for the year. I don't think they're bringing back Tyrod Taylor. I believe it will be Brady Cook again this week. Dude, that is take us out to the pasture, stick a fork in us. We are done, and I think Vrabel will be happy to do so. They need to keep winning. They need to keep winning. So like I wouldn't be if they get like a 17-point lead, they're going to push it to 24. If they get a 21-point lead, they're going to push it to 24. And dude, the Jets are just so bad. The Jets are just so bad. I don't think it's going to take a lot to cover a 2 touchdown spread. I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Jets could not manage to get to 13 points here. So it was a very easy bet for me. I'm taking the Patriots minus 13.5. I do expect them to cover here. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if Vrabel uses this to kind of get his offense hyped up a little bit. If maybe we see some more like Mike Williams usage. Uh, I don't know. I'm excited for the game for the Patriots because I have Drake May in 2 championships starting this week as well. So we'll see. We'll see.
So I just looked. It is confirmed Brady Cook starting again for the Jets. Justin Fields is on injured reserve, and Tyrod Taylor will be on the depth chart is the quarterback too. So Tyrod is backing up Brady Cook in this game.
So they're
Obvious,
actively trying to lose.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
especially shutting down Garrett Wilson. Like it feels pretty obvious at this point, right? Obviously you're doing the no-no where you're laying almost 2 touchdowns with a road divisional favorite. So I'm sure a lot of the trend bet guys would be, saying, "Oh, well, historically that's not a good bet." But it feels to me like what this Jets team, their current iteration is a historical outlier for dog shit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if I had to bet aside, it would certainly be the Patriots here. I don't think that the back door is really open for the Jets, right? With Brady Cook, I think that's a massive limiter offensively. My only worry in this game, if you are betting the Patriots here, is if Brady Cook tears his ACL and Tyrod Taylor gets in the game, because I
Yeah.
I would bet I would bet the Jets plus 13.5 if Tyrod was in the game because I think that he's at least somewhat competent. But yeah, the number was just too big. It scared me off a little bit. I feel like Vrabel will just run. If the Patriots get up big, I think they could just run the ball or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Not push it too much. Like he doesn't have. I don't think Mike Vrabel has the vitriol for the Jets that he has for say the Titans, for
No.
example. So, but if I had to bet a side, I would bet the Patriots here. I just picked other ones, I guess.
Maybe he just doesn't like that nerds made jets. That nerds made jets fly. He might just hate like science. Vrabel. It seems like the kind of guy who hates science.
I
I can
mean,
see him. I
if
can
we
see
were
him
doing
being
a
the lead.
live action Flintstones film, I think
Oh
that
yeah.
Mike Vrabel could absolutely be Fred Flintstone for sure.
Oh yeah. 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 Yeah.
Then one other little tidbit: you did lose a Patriots bet this year. It was the head-to-head against me where you took Baker and I took the
Yeah.
Patriots.
Oh, I did. Yeah. So I lost betting against him. Not on
Yeah,
him though. Not
yeah.
on him, but I did lose betting against him. Yeah. Okay. Saints minus 2.5. And here's my question for Ted to start it off. Do you believe that Tyler Shuck will go now? I'm not saying not have a competition. There's going to be a competition on it. Do you believe week one Tyler Shuck will be the Saints starting quarterback based on what you've seen so far in next year?
Well, the Saints have 4 wins now, right? I
Right.
believe in terms of draft order, they would be outside of the top 10. Arch Manning has not been the quarterback that a lot of people thought that he was, so I don't think he's going to be stepping in to start. So I feel like the first round quarterbacks like Fernando Mendoza, Diego
Yeah. They're gone.
Pop, yeah, I think they're already going to be gone. So my guess would be Tyler Shuck is the week one starter for the Saints. I don't think he's a franchise quarterback or anything, but I think the Saints will probably wait to address that position.
Yeah. Well, so it looks to me like Tyler Shuck at least has a grasp of Kellen Moore's offense. Like he's an older guy. He's like 24, 25 or whatever. You would expect him to be more out of the box what he's going to be as a pro because of how much college ball he played and how much time he spent in college. And I think we're seeing some of that. So I'm taking the Saints minus 2.5 on the road at the Titans, taking them to cover by a field goal. 52% of total bets against the spread have gone on the Saints. 58% of total dollars bet against the spread have gone on the Saints. Very small, big money lean. The season record against the spread isn't great. They're 7-8, but as of late, they have been covering and not just covering. They've been winning ball games. The Titans' season record against the spread is actually 7-8. They rallied from a horrific start. I think at one point they were 1-7 when we were on here talking about it, or maybe 2-7. We were laughing about. I think there was a stat that we pulled that the Titans had failed to cover 16 of their last 20 games at one point in the middle of this year.
Brian,
Um,
so in the period that Brian Callahan was the head coach of the Tennessee Titans, about a year and a
yeah,
half, they covered 4 times total.
yeah, I think it was 4 times out of 20.
Mm-hmm.
Four times out of 20. Absolutely astounding. The Saints' offensive rank is 26. I was pretty shocked to see their defensive rank is ninth, but I do feel like they played good. I mean, I had their defense going in a bunch of fantasy semifinals last week, and they had like 18 points. They did great. I'm hoping they do well again this week. The offensive rank for the Titans is 31st. Defensive rank is 21st, but I do think that's a little bit, maybe selling them short just a little bit. Chimera DK made the Pro Bowl, which is pretty surprising. I want to say he made it as a returner. I would be surprised if he made it as a receiver. I'm gonna guess he made it as a returner, but he did make the Pro Bowl. And then Cam Ward, like I think we've seen flashes. I think we've seen flashes of why he went first overall. He's made some really cool like off-platform throws and stuff. But for me, this is a very simple bet. The Titans are a pass funnel defense, serious pass funnel defense, and Shuck and Olave are firing. Jawan Johnson's, giving him kind of his underneath safety blanket stuff. I believe Devon Bailey's on IR. I'm not positive. But yeah, dude, Olave looks like he has turned this crazy corner as far as what he's been putting on the field the last month or so. Really good ball. Kellen Moore, I think, is kind of in his bag with a quarterback who can actually do what he wants him to do. Um, Remember the last time we saw Kellen Moore with a competent with well what I would call a good like deep ball thrower, a traditional pocket passer was like Justin Herbert years ago. He had Jalen Hurts and he did a really good job with Jalen Hurts, but Jalen Hurts isn't quite the same guy, like not to sit there and pick you apart from the pocket guy. Shuck looks like he's running it really competently. I Shuck is my replacement for Lamar Jackson in a bunch of fantasy leagues. I think he has a really big week this week. I really do. I don't think yards are going to be hard to come by. And then for me on the other side of the ball, the Saints are technically a top 10 defense in terms of yards allowed. They play pretty good defense. Now, not great defense. They're not even a top 10 defense. They're just technically top 10 yards allowed. The Titans are pretty bad offensively, man. Pretty bad. I like them to be able to give the Titans offense enough friction that their offense does what it does. I think it's going to be a really ugly cover. I think it's going to be like 21-17 or 17-14, something like that, or maybe 27-20. Like I don't think the Titans are really going to put up a bunch of points. That's not their thing, but now it's kind of within the range of outcomes. They've been leaning on Tony Pollard, but the Saints are pretty good against the rush. That's what I think. I think it's going to be a real ugly. I don't know why I said pretty good against the rush. They're average against the rush. I think it's going to be a very ugly cover, but I think the Saints are a much better team than the Titans at this point, is what I'm saying. I've seen them enough this year go toe to toe with teams that are at least decent around the league. They played the Panthers really tight and actually basically almost outright beat them. I don't think they did. It was when I took No, yeah, when I took the money line for the Panthers at like minus 300, I believe they just outright lost to the Saints.
The
They
Saints are
covered
2-0 against the Panthers this year outright.
Yeah, yeah, they covered against the Bills on a big cover. Like I think the Saints are in that category of scrappy bottom feeder that's clawing their way into NFL relevancy, and I don't think the Titans are there yet. I think there's a clear tier break between these teams, so I'm very comfortably taking the Titans minus 2.5 to come.
Well, so for me, right, while I do think there are things to feel good about the New Orleans Saints about, right, I view these teams as two of like definitely bottom 10 teams. I think the Titans are probably bottom 5. The Saints are closer to like that 10 number, right? So when you when you're betting on a game with two really terrible teams, I feel like there is a level of variance there. I pulled it up just
Yeah.
so I can be consistent here. On the pick 'em this week, you have to pick an outright winner on the game. I did pick the Saints, so I think you're right, and I think you have a good number at 2.5. So that would be where I'd bet, right? But I have it as my 2 point confidence game. The only one lower being the Giants and Raiders toilet bowl.
Oh,
So
come on. Come on.
it's not that by all accounts I think the Saints should win this game, right? It's just hey, they're a 4-win football team still at this
Yeah.
point. And the Titans, I mean, their offense has looked a little better. I think that Cam Ward has been progressing. They just hung like
Yeah.
29 on the Kansas City Chiefs, who did a much
Yeah.
better job defensively against the Broncos this week. So I feel like part of that is the Chiefs really getting up for potentially the Travis Kelsey retirement game. They probably overlooked the Titans last week, but I do see enough flashes from Cam Ward. I don't know. Like I said, like I think you're right. This is the game I would bet. I actually did take a look at this one, but I said, am I really going to bet a 5 leg parlay on the New Orleans Saints? I didn't have that level of courage, but I think you got the right side of it.
Okay, and a bet that Ted is going to hate. I'm ticking against his Eagles. I'm taking the Bills at minus 118 on the money line. 72% of money line bets have gone on the Bills. 69% of money line dollars have gone on the Bills. So the public likes them. The whales a little bit prefer the Eagles here. Season record for both teams. The Eagles are 10-5. The Bills are 11-4. The offensive ranking for the Eagles, 22nd in yards gained. The defensive ranking, 12th in yards allowed. The Bills are the third ranked offense, 11th in defensive ranking. That is absolutely a Josh Allen statistic, the fact that this team is third in offense. And that is what the bet is for me. I absolutely hate watching this Eagles team play football. I will be entirely honest with you. It is a really ugly brand of football. It is one of the highest rates of 3-and-outs in the NFL. It is Jalen Hurts continuously overthrowing guys down the seams and down the sidelines. Saquon Barkley has not looked like he's had room to run this year. He finally did get it going a little bit last week, but that was against the Skins. Um, I don't like the Eagles team. To me, they have one and done written all over them. They may get lucky and get the 49ers with their extremely wounded defense coming into town, which they will be able to run against because everyone can. Maybe. But I think they're playing a really good football team here, and not a really good football team like as an all-around team. I think the Bills have played really well in spots this year. They're 11-4. They went toe-to-toe with the Patriots in a game that had a 66 point total. I don't feel like Jalen Hurts this year is capable of dropping back, airing it out, and winning a game the way that Josh Allen is. And Josh Allen has terrible weapons, dude, but also the Eagles have quietly been a little bit gettable on the ground without Jalen Carter this year. And James Cook is on fire. I think the Bills' running game is like the heart of their team. All they need is to be able to run the ball. And the Eagles will probably sell out to stop it. And they have a really good secondary to lock down guys should the Bills have to pass. But I don't know if the Bills don't really care about lockdown corners because that's not what they want to do. Um, I think we're going to see all of the Eagles' flaws get exposed this week. I really do. I think we're going to see what it looks like if Jalen Hurts has to drop back and throw the ball when a team's scoring 28 or 35 points on him. I think the Bills are going to be able to run the ball on him. I don't know. Maybe it's just a vibes thing. Maybe it is that I'm a little bit like I have a disdain for watching the Eagles play. I really do. They're like my least favorite team to watch in the NFL. Um, but yeah, I just do. Josh Allen has to be looking around right now, going, "This is it. This is it." Lamar's down. Mahomes is down. I don't have to worry about the Ravens or the Chiefs on the way to the Super Bowl. My biggest competition is likely going to be the Jaguars and the Patriots. Like, this is the sort of game where I think if Josh Allen fancies himself a Super Bowl winning quarterback, which he has to at this point, right? If he's ever going to win one, I feel like it's got to be these sort of games that come home. I think we see his best performance of the year this week. He had a really bad game against Cleveland last week. I don't know. Maybe it's totally vibes. Maybe it's just me being I like a good story or whatever. I had just a weird gut feel. I think the Bills beat the brakes off the Eagles this week. I think we see everything. It's like when that Eagles team that was undefeated and the 49ers came in and really panned them and it was downhill from there. I think we see all the ugly flaws that winning's been covered up with the Eagles bubble up on the surface. And I think we see Josh Allen develop into the final stage this year of what will be a Super Bowl run for him. Whether he makes it or not, I don't know. But he has to view this as his absolute best chance to do so. It's the easiest road he's ever had there. And I believe he shows it this week.
So this is an interesting one for me, right? When I think about like what these two teams are playing for, I'm not sure the Eagles have much to play for at this point. I believe they are one game back of the Bears right now, and they lost the head-to-head, right? So it seems to me like unless the Bears lose out or there's some extraordinary circumstance, right? The Eagles are pretty much locked into the 3 seed, and the Bills technically still have the AFC East on the table. They would have to have the Patriots drop one of the next two. I believe the Patriots are playing the Jets and Dolphins, so unlikely, right? But mathematically, it could still happen. So I feel like this game probably means a little bit more to the Bills. AJ Brown decided to get his wisdom teeth out this week. He will be playing in the game, but if AJ Brown scheduled this week to get his wisdom teeth out, it makes me believe that some of the players in the Eagles locker room do not give a shit, right?
Yeah.
I think that they're just like, okay, like this game doesn't really matter. It could be a Super Bowl preview, honestly, but so here's my issue with it. Over the last 8 weeks, the Bills have trailed in every single game they've played in the second half. That's not cap. That's not bait. The Bills were trailing to the Shador Sanders and the Cleveland Browns last week at half. Right. Josh Allen did hurt his foot. He said he would be good to go this week. I wonder if that caps his rushing upside. Um, and I listen, if you take these rosters, you put them on paper and you put them next to each other, I don't think it's close. I think the Eagles are the significantly better team, right? But what you're doing is you're betting Josh Allen Superman stuff, which trust me, as a aggressive Josh Allen investor and bull and someone who said that's the guy you want, he's the best in the league right now. I get it. I get why you would do that, right? I do think Jalen Carter being out is a big deal because James Cook being able to have room to run unlocks this offense really. So I like that aspect. I do think the Bills are going to have an issue here passing, right? Because other than their tight ends, the one guy they really like to go to is Khalil Shakir, right? Who is a slot guy. And we all know who the Eagles have as slot corner, the great slot eraser, Cooper DeJean. So I feel like if the Bills get down here and they have to throw, it would be very difficult to do that, right? Obviously, Josh Allen makes some of the most unbelievable plays in the world, but I mean, that does worry me. On the other side, right? Eagles offense versus Bills defense. The Bills defense is very simple. They are built to contain and stop the quarterback, and they give up a million yards rushing. So I feel like it's going to be on Saquon yet again. The forever Saquon Coper of this channel, me, thinks that Saquon has a big game here. I do think that if the Bills get up in this game, if in the second half they have a multi-score lead, I think it's going to be very hard for Jalen Hurts with AJ Brown with his wisdom tooth holes and Devontae Smith to push the ball down the field because it's what the Bills are built to stop, right? I truly think this is a 50-50. I would not touch this game with a 10-foot pole. Usually I'm way more of an Eagles optimist here. I don't know. I think the Bills could easily win, but I also think the Eagles could easily win. It's a stay away from me, but I don't blame you for betting on Josh Allen Superman stuff. I do think that he is the best in the league right now, with Mahomes seeming like he's regressed this year a little bit. One thing I will say though, this isn't really about the bet. This is just kind of like your Bills thing. I think that yes, I feel the expectation in Buffalo should be this needs to be a Super Bowl run, but I feel like this is the worst Bills team I've seen in maybe three
Yeah.
years. Like they have
Yep.
significant flaws that are just duct taped together by Josh Allen's greatness. I
Yep.
wouldn't be shocked if a team like the Broncos knocked them out, for example, right? And all the Broncos fans will get
Texans.
excited and think they did something, and it's like, oh, it's just the Bills got to win 3 straight games with Josh Allen, and Dave trailed every single game in the second half for like 2 months, right? So massive ask. I don't think there's more on any one player in the NFL than Josh Allen. Like maybe Joe Burrow is in
Absolutely.
that conversation too, right? But It's a tough ask. It'll be a banger game, though. I hope the Eagles give a shit and actually try in this game because I like watching the Eagles play, man. Like I get like offensively, like their coordination has not like a lot of people think that their coordinator isn't very good this year, but some of the athletes that are on that Eagles team, I love watching. I love watching AJ Brown. I love watching Saquon. It's been a down year for him, but we'll see. Also, I'm not like an Eagles fan, dude. Okay, I liked I was a Saquon drafter last year. I got to ride the coattails of that elite season, so I have a little more appreciation for Philly now. But
Hey man, I liked watching them last year. I don't like watching them this year.
one is me. This is my second to last pick of the week. I'm taking the Bears and Niners over 53.5. I will be I will have boots on the ground for this game. I'm going to be in my little corner seats yelling as loud as possible, trying to draw Caleb Williams off sides a couple times. I'm stoked to see it, though. I think this should be a banger of a football game. The over is 53.5 points, so we need 54 to hit it here. Here's the betting breakdown. Again, this is shocking to me. We have 23% of total bets on the over and only 28% of the total dollars on the over. So we have a 5% whale lean, I guess, on the over, but this is largely not a public pick either. Season record on the over unders. The Bears have gone over 7 times and the Niners have gone over 9 times. Offensive and defensive ranks. The Bears are fourth in offensive yards gained and 24th in defensive yards allowed. And the Niners are ninth in offensive yards gained and 18th in defensive yards allowed. And just looking at that, I am blown away. The Niners are 18th in defensive yards allowed. That is shocking to me. I think they are significantly worse defensively at this point than that number suggests. And really, when I look at this game, right, I have been a Bears skeptic for a long time. I know a lot of people are excited about the Bears. I think they have a fantastic coach in Ben Johnson. I mean, just look at it, right? The Bears are going to be playoff bound and the Lions are going home. Maybe they should have kept Ben Johnson, right? So clearly he has made a massive difference to this team. But I don't think the Bears defense is good enough. I feel like they have been gashed at multiple times this year, and what the Bears are is they're a turnover team. They're a turnover and big play team, and I love, I guess, selling these turnover teams short because I don't think turnovers, unless you have some unbelievable players like TJ Watt, are very sustainable, right? I don't think it's a sustainable way to play defense. So I think there's going to be a ton of yards in this game from both ends. The Niners, they cannot stop anyone. It's to no fault of their own. I don't think it's just the injury that the Niners have sustained on the defensive end. You lose your first round top 10 defensive lineman. He was top 10 in this year's draft, right? So top 10 pick rookie. You lose a all pro Hall of Famer, middle linebacker, captain of your defense, the guy who calls the plays for the defense, and you lose the highest paid defensive end on your team and used to be the highest paid defensive end in the NFL before Myles Garrett and TJ Watt got broken off, right? So you're missing like two Hall of Famers from this defense. The Niners just continue to get banged up. I think Tatum Bethune went down this week. So I think the Bears are going to be able to do what they want, especially on the ground here. What the Bears have done when they've been on this tear and like been playing really well is they've really committed to the ground game with DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai. Kyle Monangai is a lot more fancy. A lot more people seem to like that player, but DeAndre Swift had a pretty damn good year too. 1,000-yard rusher, multiple touchdowns, really has played in Ben Johnson's offense before. So I feel like the ground game for the Bears, they're going to be able to do what they want. I think offensively, like in the passing game, right? No Romadunze this week. And I think Luther Burden is tagged as questionable. Yanni, do you know if he's out or questionable this
Full
week?
go today. Full go today. He's in.
Okay, so Luther Burden is going to be playing. DJ Moore has 5 touchdowns over the past 3 weeks with Luther Burden and Roma Dunze being out, so he's firing. Caleb Williams, he is a very inconsistent player, right? A lot of his games, he's had a very low completion percentage. A lot of times he's popped up for sub 200 yards passing, but most of those games have been taking place in the Midwest where it's like 10 degrees, right? 20 degrees and rain, wind chill of minus 10. This is going to be actually not a rainy game. We've been getting hammered in the Bay Area all week with rain. It is supposed to stop tomorrow, so it's going to be like Bay Area standards cold, which is like mid 40s, but to the Bears, that's like a nice day in Hawaii. Like, I don't think they're going to have an issue here. I think Caleb Williams will have a better game passing. So there's that side. Then on the 49ers side, like this offense is playing so well. They have not punted in 3 weeks, I want to say. They just hung like 45 on the Colts. And again, I'm not going to prognosticate Bears turnovers here. It's not sustainable, and I think it's circumstantial, right? So I think the Niners are going to offensively be really good here. I know George Kittle is questionable. If he misses this game, that's going to be a big dagger, but Ricky is questionable too. I feel like Ricky actually plays in this game. I think Ricky will make a pretty big difference. Brock Purdy, since he's been back, the second time from his toe injury, it feels much better. So to me, I just think both of these teams are going to go back and forth. I think this is going to be like one of those Chiefs Rams bangers, like the Mexico game, right? I think it'll be back and forth. Both of these teams have everything to play for, too. The Bears, if they win this game, I believe they lock up the NFC North. The Niners need to win this game to set up a battle for the NFC West in Week 18 with the Seahawks. So, massive stakes in this game. It's a great one that I picked to go to, so I'm happy I'm going to be in the building. I like the over here. I didn't have the courage to pick Niners -3 because I didn't want to jinx it, right? Like, I can't be in the building coming on the gambling show saying I'm picking the Niners -3. They don't cover that number. Maybe they lose the game and I'm in the building. I might want to. So, for all of those reasons, I'm taking the over here. What do you think, Yanni?
Yeah, so I took the over just because I think the Bears are very strong where the Niners are very weak. That's in their running attack. Like I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Bears ran for 200 yards this week. I think the Niners are pretty strong where the Bears are pretty gettable through the air. I'm expecting a really big game from both teams. The 49ers are one of the worst teams in the NFL against slot receivers, and now they're going to have Luther Burden back in the slot. They're one of the worst teams in the NFL against tight end. Colston Loveland should be able to exploit that. And then the 49ers offense is perfectly willing to get in shootouts and perfectly capable of getting in shootouts with the way Brock and Kyle are playing. And then just for the narrative bit, right? Uh, uh, I wish I knew whose coinage it was who called Ben Johnson East Coast Kyle Shanahan. Probably John Middlecoff. That's usually who I listen to for football. But he really is in a lot of ways. And Kyle Shanahan admires Ben Johnson. Their interviews this week have been really interesting to hear about the mutual respect between these two guys. Because in many ways, it is not a passing of a torch, because Kyle's not giving the torch up yet. But as far as just like the next great offensive coordinators, we have a couple of them now that have become head coaches and are probably going to be. And they're not in the Kyle Shanahan tree. They're not in the Sean McVay tree, although Liam Cohen is. Um, Ben Johnson is sort of his own thing. So I absolutely love this development that's going on about kind of this young guy who's avant-garde. He's doing his own thing. He is going to come in and try to play who he said is the best offensive play caller in the NFL, and Kyle Shanahan. I think these guys are going to try to impress one another. I think these guys are going to pull out trick plays, fancy plays. I think we're going to see it all this week. I really do. And technically, I believe the 1 seed is in play for the Bears as well. I think if they win out and the Rams lose one, I believe they can get the 1 seed. So just massive stakes and a fantastic story about the future of these two guys who may well be playing quite a bit over the next few years in the playoffs. I absolutely love it. I'm expecting fireworks. I'm jealous you get to go. I do think it's on the board the 49ers lose this week, to be entirely honest with you. Because if the Bears run for 200 plus yards, like that's a lot of ball control. That's a lot of ball control, and all it takes is one Brock Purdy interception, right? Caleb tends to not turn the ball over. So I don't know about that side of it. And the 49ers don't really get turnovers. To me, it is also about does Brock Purdy throw an untimely interception? But certainly think the overall hit here. I'm shocked to see the betting numbers on it. And I think we got a really good deal on the over.
I feel like a lot of the betting numbers are like, people love to bet in historically, right? The unders start to hit near the end of the year when the weather gets really
Okay.
bad. So I wonder if like it's some guy freezing his ass off, like living in New York or something, right? That's like,
Yeah,
oh, we're
maybe.
53.5 point total. Like I'm taking the under here. It's winter time, but really in California, like if it was raining, I would not take the over because I don't think Brock
No.
Purdy has shown he can play offense well in the rain, but should be a nice night, nice cool mid 40s degree night. I'll be in my beanie and like sweater and stuff because I'm gonna be cold, but I don't think Caleb Williams and the Bears will be. All right, last one of the week, Monday night. This game will wrap up fantasy seasons for everyone out there, and I think this is going to be an extremely fantasy relevant game. I'm taking the Rams -8.5 going to Atlanta to play the Falcons. Here's the betting breakdown: 27% of total bets against the spread are on the Rams here, and only 30% of the total dollars against the spread are on the Rams. So another fade the public pick for me. I did not set these up. I'm actually really happy I didn't end up on the Falcons here, because a lot of times that public dog thing does not cover. Like, so it makes me think that maybe I'm on the right side of this, but we shall see. Season records against the spread: the Rams have covered 11 times, and the Falcons are 500 at covering the spread. Offensive and defensive ranks: the Rams are second in offensive yards gained and 16th in defensive yards allowed, versus the Falcons, who are 13th in offensive yards gained and 14th in defensive yards allowed. So when I talk about this game, right, I feel like the Rams are clearing away at this point the class of the NFC. I don't think there is a team that is better than them in the NFC, and they're probably my Super Bowl favorite at this point, right? they're they're laying 8.5 points, which is like a lot of points to lay. That's not a small number. So I'm kind of prognosticating a blowout here. But the fact of the matter is they're going to the Atlanta Falcons and Kirk Cousins. I know Kirk Cousins has had a couple nice games. He's strung together a couple nice performances against like the Buccaneers and a couple of other like kind of bottom feeder teams. But this Rams team is an entirely different monster, I think. Obviously, the Rams are missing Devontae Adams, which is a big deal. He has been so good for them this year. But Puka Nakua, man, I feel like it's on the board that he is potentially. I think he's one of the best possession receivers I've ever seen at this point. He is firing on all cylinders. He's now tied Jackson Smith-Njigba for the NFL lead in total yardage. To me, like, I know this Falcons team early in the year has ranked really well defending the pass, but they have not really stopped anyone lately. The defense has been really bad. I think that the Rams here in a game they need to win. The Rams need to win out and need to have the Seahawks lose a couple of games here, and the 49ers lose a couple of games. So that it's kind of out of their hands. They're one seed destiny, but they need to win this game. Otherwise, that's completely out the window. So it's going to be important. I feel like with Kirk Cousins back there, right? We all know what the deal with Kirk Cousins is. He can operate just fine in a like in a pocket that exists, right? But once you start breaking the pocket and moving him off his spot, the play is entirely dead. He is not mobile anymore. He was never mobile to begin with before the Achilles, and now it's even worse. So that's the strength of what this Rams defense is. It's their defensive line with Byron Young, with Brandon Fisk, with Jared Verse. Like, those guys get after you. So I feel like multi-sack game incoming for the Rams here. I think they're going to make Kirk Cousins uncomfortable. Obviously, the Falcons have a lot of nice, flashy offensive pieces, right? You talk about Drake London, you talk about Bijan Robinson, and I guess let's throw Kyle Pitts in the conversation because he's the fantasy tight end too on the year, right? A lot of these guys are playing pretty well, but Drake London, he had a bad week last week coming off the PCL. I think he's still recovering from that. Bijan Robinson, I don't think that he's going to get a ton of yards in the traditional rush game. I think most of his stuff is going to come from dump offs because the Rams are so good at defending the run. And Kyle Pitts, while it is a nice story, while he is a fantasy hero for some of you out there, I still don't think he's that quality of player. I just feel like the Rams kind of lay it on the Falcons here, a much worse team that has nothing to play for other than pride at this point. I think the Rams probably get to the high 30s in this game, and the Falcons maybe 20 points. It just, the math checked out for me. I feel like it's two entirely different quality of teams. I'm actually shocked to see how many people bet the Falcons here. So that's where I landed on it. What do you think, Yanni? Am I like stepping into a trap here? Is there something
No,
I
I
did
think
not
you're just
notice?
No, I think you're just selling high on the Falcons right after their 2 weeks of Kirk Cousins, who's one of the best quarterbacks in NFL history against Tampa Bay, and then they played the Cardinals last week, right? So you're just selling high on the Falcons. The only thing is their defense good enough to keep the back door open for a 7 point loss? That's the only thing that I think this thing doesn't come down to. Like, the Rams are really strong where the Falcons are strong. They're not going to let Bijan have a ton of room to operate. Kirk Cousins will have to drop back, and while the Rams are passable on a bowl, I don't know if Kirk Cousins can operate against a defensive line like the Rams are sporting. The Rams are one of the class, probably the class of the NFL, like you said. And then also, like, the Atlanta offense or defense has been declining precipitously as the year went on. They're incredibly good against tight ends still for some reason. Like, they Trey McBride last week, but other than that, just not a very good offense. So or not a very good defense anymore. So yeah, I think you got it, man. I think you do. But the only thing I'm wondering is just are the Falcons does the Falcons defense show up enough that it's a 10-point game with Kirk Cousins running a 2-minute drill? I think that is the only way you don't hit this bet. So
Yeah, the back door is open, I think,
yeah,
with the quality of weapons on the Atlanta Falcons,
yeah.
but it is Kirk Cousins. I do think that is a notable drop off. So,
Would not be surprised at all if this game's like 31-10. Like, just wouldn't be shocked. So
all right, that's going to do it for us. If you made it through the whole video, thank you. Please like, subscribe, hit the bell. It helps the channel out. This is our 100th episode. This is it. We've done 100 of these things, which is, if you had
yeah,
told me when we started this thing we would shoot 100 videos, like,
yeah,
I don't know if I would have believed you. I thought maybe we would have quit before that or something else, but hey, man,
yeah.
perfect timing too with the end of really the fantasy season. We'll do one more gambling show this year, and then I don't know, Yanni, do you want to do the playoff thing like we did last year? Are you in
Oh
on
yeah,
that?
yeah.
All right,
If you're up for it,
all right. We'll do some playoff stuff too. So we got some more episodes coming, but it is kind of like effectively the end of the fantasy year. Let us know
yeah,
in the comments, like, if you're a regular watcher of the show, what your favorite moment has ever been in show history. We got a
oh
lot of
dang,
them. I think my favorite moment from this show in our 100 episodes of doing this is when Yanni, you were talking about how Jimmy Garoppolo likes to send like children slaves down into the ocean to hunt for abalone.
yeah.
I was like, we need to like do a short of that. I still remember that. I think that was last year at some point. I'll see
He
if I can
eats
find it.
he enjoys veal not for the texture, but because there's suffering involved to animals. Yeah. No.
All right, we'll catch you
Yeah.
guys next week for the gambling show.
Thank you guys.